to death is also really good.
Squeezed to death. What is that?
Liquid death.
Oh, okay. Today I learned about Monster M3. It's not sold in the United States. Apparently, only sold overseas. But it is a 12-ounce monster with 140 milligrams of caffeine.
That it?
Yes, in a 12-ounce monster.
I mean, I regularly drink 12 ounces of water with a 200 milligram packet of Celsius in it. So, I mean,
why?
Because I have 5 kids.
Well, I understand. Do you want your my aorta hurts just thinking about that.
The maximum recommended daily amount of caffeine is 400. So if I just drink 2, then I'm only halfway there. And to be fair, and Andrew's over there like, yeah, I've had like 1,800 milligrams of caffeine just today. I keep watching his face. He's like,
Well,
no,
Andrew lives on caffeine and whiskey. So,
well, I was gonna say I have a patch that says my life I live on caffeine and hate. So
caffeine and hate. Yeah. Oh,
I see. I got the double FPC going today.
Nice.
Got the drone us or fuck off going.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, Andrew's got keep your rifle muted. Andrew, can't hear you.
I have no idea why my microphone keeps muting itself. That's really obnoxious.
Like I said, it knows it was formerly an airplane part, and it's landing itself.
No, the Wired X stuff. It used to be Wired X 505 because it was 505 milligrams of caffeine per 16-ounce can. It's so much caffeine you can taste the caffeine over the energy drink mix. Like you can actually just taste the caffeine, that bitter anhydrous caffeine taste.
I get targeted ads on Facebook all the time for bulksupplements.com. And you can buy like a 5-pound bag of caffeine powder.
That's a terrible idea. That's an absolutely terrible idea.
Is that a better setup, guys, than with the camera on top of the monitor?
You're fine either way.
Yeah, whichever.
Yeah. If people are listening for our faces, then they're in.
Well, with it up above, you can't see my face at all. You can see is my hat, which granted, that's probably the best looking part of me. But
yeah, so like episode 240, Andrew, when's the last time you used a 240?
A 240?
Mm-hmm.
God, I was well over 15. No, about 15 years ago, I guess. Maybe 15 years.
Long time.
Something like that. Since last time. Oh, no, because I did go to a machine gun shoot when like a couple of years later, and there was a guy who had one that was fucking sweet. That was a dealer sample. I think that was a 240. I'm pretty sure. I don't think it was a saw. It's a while ago. I don't know. I don't remember what I had for breakfast, man. You expect me to remember that long ago?
Too much excess caffeine in the brain.
I was
It's caffeine. Fries you.
The caffeine receptors are fried.
Dude, I used to drink so much Monster. I used to down 3 16-ounce cans of Monster a day, every day. And what made me finally like realize that I had to stop and like cut back is I literally developed like an essential tremor from all of the caffeine and B vitamins.
Good God.
Yeah. Like I was actually like twitching. And so yeah, I cut back on the energy drinks now.
And in my case, I've switched now. I drink I just drink a 20-ounce coffee on my way out the door to go to work. But then throughout the day I'll take like 24,000 IU of B12.
I take a B12 vitamin B complex GNC every morning.
Yep. So I take a B12 with my coffee in the morning, and then I usually just take another one at lunchtime in the afternoon.
Mm.
And that just keeps me going.
Yeah, I have in the morning, like I'll have I'll have my B complex, like C, D's, and fish oil and all that, and then I'll have a glass of tea, and then like with my morning Bible reading for like half an hour, and I'm good after that.
Gotta be careful with B vitamins. I discovered again because I did a bunch of research because I started having the shakes all the time. Turns out that if you OD on B vitamins to too high an extent, it causes permanent nerve damage.
Yes.
Permanent nerve damage. I was like, oh, well then, I think we're gonna stop fucking around with that for a little while.
I already have forever chemicals in my blood from the tap water. So
yeah, well, dude, less than 3 miles away from me is an entire island that is so poisoned by the PFAS that they have to ship in giant tanks of water for everybody to use because they can't use their tap water.
Whee! Yay!
You talking about French Island out there?
Yeah.
My grandma's cooler than your grandma.
Yeah. French Island, the home of my grandma, is cooler than your grandma. They tore that house down years ago, but
are you surprised?
No,
it became a tourist destination.
What is wrong with Wisconsin? Can somebody what is it? The water? What is going on? Like
it's all the PFAS.
It's we have the right here,
dude,
right here
just
in town.
7-month-long winters. It does things to people.
Well, yeah, Wisconsin death trip and shit. But we have in Wisconsin, we have the story here, right here in town. The guy who kept his mom in the freezer after she died for like 10 years. And the way that they discovered it was because they had a power outage in the summer.
Oh, she thought.
Yep. And so that's how they figured that one out.
And he was doing it to continue to pull in her Social Security checks.
Yeah. And then we have we have Ed Gein, who's not only, technically a serial killer because he did kill 2 people, but he's like one of these, even among serial killers, he's an aberration. And then we have Jeffrey Dahmer, who you may have heard of, also Wisconsin.
See, here all we have is fentanyl sideshows and racist cops.
Well, we got plenty of fentanyl too.
Yeah, we do.
We don't get too much with the racist cops, although that's getting worse now that seems like the entire south side of Chicago is moving into the area.
Did you read the article I posted about my local cops?
Yeah,
I read part of it. I didn't read the whole thing.
So Antioch, right where I live, Antioch, California. I'm already doxxed. So Antioch, where I live, authorizes 115 officers.
Yep.
Right. They currently have 68 officers on payroll.
But half of them are on leave.
Hold on. 31 of those are on leave or desk duty under investigation for state or federal charges. So they have like 35 patrolling cops for a city of 126,000 people.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Man.
It takes some skill to wind up getting half of your police department.
You know what happened?
Under investigation.
Someone got offended and the group chat got leaked.
Ooh, yeah,
that'll do it. You know what? I remember that because we talked about that before.
Yeah, someone leaked the group chat between Antioch and Pittsburgh. That's the city just west of us. Antioch and Pittsburgh cops, and there's 8 or 10 cops that have already taken plea deals, and then there's another 15 or 20 that are awaiting trial, and then the rest are there's a bunch of them that are still under investigation.
It's like that meme that Russian dude or whatever that drank the poison, where it's like when you find out in court that they leaked the group chat. Nope.
Yep. Well, it's granted, my town is a lot smaller than even both of yours. I have 1,500 people in my town, but we had a 4 cop PD right here. We have one county cop who comes through he comes through town once a shift. And the reason they disbanded it,
Dave says he's got to go secure the group chat. Yeah.
Yep. If our group chat ever got leaked, we might as well just go ahead and,
like I said, the poison. You're just like, oh, you have the
start listening for the drones. Start listening for the drones.
But what happened was one of them got caught having an inappropriate relationship with a high school girl. And when somebody else found out about it, they turned it in to the city police chief. We're like, hey, this needs to be investigated. Well, according to state law, anything like that has to be investigated by an outside agency.
Yeah.
Instead, the police chief handled the investigation himself and found no foul play. And once that got leaked, right? And once that got leaked to the papers, they disbanded the entire police department. Like, nope, they're gone. We're not getting them back. We're done with this shit.
That's the way it works. That's the way it works.
Well, that's what happened in Reedstown too. Remember years ago in Reedstown where I remember that it all started because somebody saw a pair of women's legs hanging out of the open window of the parked police cruiser.
Yep.
And it snowballed. And then it turned out those legs belonged to one of the city council members' wives.
Yep.
And
yes, I remember this.
Yeah, things kind of went from there. Keep in mind, though, this is the same cop that during right after 9/11, remember there's that big scare with anthrax being mailed, right?
Yep.
And during that, at one point, a letter came into the Reedstown post office. Reedstown's a town of like 250 people, something like that. It's tiny.
Mm-hmm.
And their post office is also like their library. And so he gets called about it by the post office, shows up, and is literally walking around the office building with this thing going, does that look like anthrax to you? I shit you not.
Oh, shit.
And the newspaper was great because it mentioned it, because there's like 4 little old ladies who work in the library, and the local newspaper mentioned that they were stripped to their eyeglasses by the Federal Emergency Response Team.
Lovely.
It was just don't ever change, Reedstown. Don't ever change.
Yeah. Reedstown is like the town that would be closest to Florida Man.
Yeah.
In Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cassville would be a
7-month winners will do that. Yeah. So, hey, before we get going, we got to give a shout out to someone. So our buddy on Facebook, Scott, he's in the chat usually as Cantankerous Tinkerer.
Okay.
His son was in a car accident. He turned 18 like last week. Gets into a car accident, ruptured spleen or something like that. Kid walked himself into the ER. Had surgery. Walking around within 24 hours. Released in 72.
That's some hardcore fucking warrior shit right there.
Yes, so Connor, so shout out to Connor. Connor does listen to the show. Him and his dad listen to the show. So
bleed. I ain't got time to bleed.
Yeah. Ain't nobody got time for that. He just turned 18. He ain't got time for anything.
Right. I'd like to throw a quick one out too for my daughter and her show choir. They competed at a national competition down in Branson and brought home first place.
Number 1.
That's pretty solid. Grand champions on a national scale.
Yes.
And the second place choir in that event actually came from their rival town, Sparta, right next door.
So Wisconsin shows up to the championship is like, yeah, those trophies are all ours. So
pretty much. Yeah, like all of the subcategories too, like the individual awards and the best band and all that stuff. Yeah, that all went to Sparta and Toma.
Nice.
Freaking amazing.
So
and they haven't even started drinking yet. I mean, not seriously.
Where do you guys want to start?
I mean, I'm fine with starting at the beginning of that list about the Bundy Ranch because that just makes me smile so much.
No, we have to save that. We have to save. That's one of those the best for last things.
Okay.
That's one of those ones where after we get all pissed off, we can go back to that and feel better.
Yeah, let's.
About
It's gonna be continuous tonight, you guys. I don't know if you noticed that.
Do we want to start with an update on the Banyai or whatever?
We'll get to that. Let's get to some breaking. How about that? Semi-automatic firearm ban passes the Colorado House.
Good
now
Lord.
It's heading to the
Senate.
Senate.
Saw that.
Yeah.
You remember when Colorado used to be like one of those real free Western states and
used to be very libertarian.
Yes.
Yeah,
the bill which passed 35 to 27 is now on its way to the Democrat-led Senate. If it passes, it could bring Colorado in line with 10 other states, including California, New York, and Illinois.
If that's the group of states that you want to be in shared company with.
Yeah, Associated Press article. Yeah.
Fuck off.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, and how funny is it that Josh moved there to get away from California, and now it's following him?
Yeah.
He's going to move to Texas next. Watch.
I have a story about Texas, but we can't talk about that on the air. Well, okay, it's a story about Canada, but Canada doesn't offer the particular procedure. So Canada is sending the person to Austin, Texas for the procedure.
Boy, that nationalized healthcare is working out well.
Right?
Oh, yeah, it is. And yeah, it's taxpayer. So okay. I'm trying. Okay, let me just try to say this. Okay.
So we don't get kicked off?
Yes. So this particular person wants to get a surgery, but also keep the other biological component that they were born with. So they would have both components.
But why?
Right? I agree. And
just so they can fuck themselves.
Sued Canada to get the surgery. Court just ruled that yes, Canada's health taxpayers will have to pay $70,000 for this surgery. But the surgery is not offered in Canada. So Canada is flying the person to Austin, Texas, putting them up, paying for all their stuff, in addition to the surgery, and then returning them to Canada.
That nationalized healthcare is really benefiting people.
It really is.
Canada.
Yes. No. Yes, that's a
Castro Jr. is doing you guys some wonders up there, I tell you.
That's a thing that's happening. Okay. Colorado's political history is purple shifting blue only recently. The chances of bill success in the state Senate are lower than it was in the House, with Democrats have a 46 to 19 majority and a bigger far left flank. So, yeah. So
that's just
Colorado.
Man, yeah, like there was a time when Colorado was this, very pro-gun state where it was, it was a state of cowboys and independence and, and that kind of thing. And then, all these people from New York and California and Washington and Oregon all go to Colorado on vacation and go, oh, this is so pretty. I want to move here. And like taxes.
Look at all this freedom we have.
Yeah, and all this freedom, and then immediately start subverting every last bit of what made the state attractive to them in the first place, because they deep down really want to be miserable.
Yeah, well, it's been what, 10 years since Magpul left Colorado?
Yeah,
right, 2015. I want to say, right when the Colorado banned the standard capacity magazine. Right, to a 15 round limit or whatever it is. So
I can't believe that Colt hasn't completely abandoned its operation.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but didn't Colt relies more or less on government contracts. And
That's
whatnot.
the thing. I don't think Colt can afford to move right now because they relied so long on those government contracts that there's a very small civilian market for them now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, because they haven't had any innovation, right, in what 20 years,
or if not more.
right? I mean,
we're gonna re-release the Python, but it's the crappy facsimile of what the Python was.
Yeah.
And who's really buying those anyway?
Yeah, who's still buying standard round revolvers?
Yeah, basically nobody. I mean, nobody is buying those. Like, if you want to make a revolver in 500,
500
or 454 Casull. Yeah, like the really, really big ones. People will buy those.
Well, yeah, especially because they go to because bears are a thing.
Well, I mean, yeah, and also just because, dude, look at them. Like,
yeah, I mean, like, my mom. I remember my mom telling me the first time she shot a 454 was at my uncle's out in Montana. She broke her thumb.
Yeah, they are not gentle.
No, especially on a 4-inch barrel.
Yeah, I heard those like little 2.5-inch wrist breakers.
Or what's the snubby 44 Magnum? Yeah, the Grizzly gun or the Alaskan. Oh, that's Ruger.
Oh yeah,
Ruger Alaskan.
Ruger Alaskan.
Yeah, there's Ruger Alaskan.
But Colt makes one too. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And but I mean, like, Colt, the funny thing too is like people still seem to think, like, they still talk about Colt like it's just this like fantastic quality brand, and I'm like, but they made everything to government standards, which means that they're literally the worst. Like,
my rifle's mil spec. I'm sorry, bro.
Are you unfamiliar with how military contracts work? That stuff is not built to high quality specs. It's built to good enough. Yeah, it's as terrible as allowable. That's that's like, what it is.
It's like just this side of K-Bar Pass, man. You gotta.
I mean,
that depends on how long that particular firearm has been in the armory.
Yeah,
because there's a really good chance that A2 that your granddad or your dad carried in Vietnam, probably not even up to Khyber Pass standards at this point.
I mean, if you have to buy, so I had a guy that my brother knew, and I kind of knew passingly, but my brother knew when California was passing their AWB, the recent AWB, they went out and bought 2 Colt LE 3920s or 6920s, 3920s, the ARs, right? So he bought them for like $1,000 a piece, which was a big deal back then. He then went off and spent another $1,000 making them not jam.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yep. I looked at a Colt that, with the roll mark and everything on it in a pawn shop years ago, and I think they wanted like $2,200 for this thing, and it was nothing special. And I was just like, I'm kind of curious, and I pulled the upper off, and I looked at it, and it was M4 feed ramps. Do you think it was an M4 barrel?
No.
It was not. And I'm just like looking at it, and I'm like, you want how much for this? Like, you do understand that it's going to feed like maybe 50% of the time?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like, he's like, no, these are. I'm like, dude, there's literally a wall, okay? A wall that feed ramp stops at. Okay, your round is not going to just slide in there gently.
Every other round you eject is going to be pushed in. Oh,
it's just
good times.
Yeah, and it was I mean, you could tell that was a factory assembled gun.
Of course, that seems par for the course. I mean,
yeah,
we've all seen our fair share of. You did what? In the firearms world?
No. Oh, Bubba, no.
I went to the Toma Gun Show on Friday night.
Every time I see a Nagat in a polymer furniture,
the Archangel stocks.
Yeah. There was a guy at the Toma Gun Show that had a severely sporterized 303 Enfield.
I know what I got.
Oh.
And he had a price tag on it of $1150. I'm like, this isn't anywhere near, if this was an original furniture, I mean, the barrel, the receiver, all of that was in great condition. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But then the stock was cut and contoured and everything. So if it was a modern factory gun, it'd be a really nice bolt gun. But it was an Enfield with an original Enfield stock that they had severely sporterized. I'm like, the stock work alone means this thing is a $300 gun tops.
Yep.
He goes, nah. He goes, nah, I know what it's worth. I was like, yeah, apparently not.
No, you do not.
Because if you did,
you do not.
You would not have that much money on this because there's no possible way you're ever going to get it.
It's been completely bastardized. And yeah, although I did see a bullpup conversion that was done on an actual former Soviet arsenal AK.
Why?
Because Bubba,
why?
It was a hack job of a conversion. And I looked at it and was like, "Oh God, what have you done? What have you done?"
I did see one thing on a table there. A guy was selling it. The price tag on it was $17,000, and it was an authentic North Korean SKS.
I mean, I definitely wouldn't pay that kind of money. I don't care how rare it is in the Western world. That thing is going to be, if it's North Korean, I would not want to shoot it.
I wouldn't want to shoot it either. But considering, I think they found in the States, there's like a total of 15 of them.
I mean, it's rare now. And if you're one of those completionists, if you will, that I have to have one of everything.
Right.
If you treat gun collecting like Pokemon and you have to catch them all.
It's a bit more expensive though.
Yeah, slightly, but if that's how you look at it, I can see where that's the holy grail to get your hands on is one of these things because they don't make their way out. Yeah. I've seen a few of the old East German Max.
Mm-hmm.
Makarovs and a few Tokes, I think that were stamped for East Germany. Those were kind of neat, but I just
but just seeing one in person was really kind of cool. I'll say that.
I wonder what the fit and finish was like because I don't imagine it was great.
It looked clean. It was actually in a shadow box, so you obviously weren't allowed to pick it up because shit's expensive. But
yeah,
still, I can't imagine that runs exactly flawlessly.
Yeah, just seeing one would be cool.
Yeah, I really want to see one of their helical mags.
Yeah, it's like the Cody Firearm Museum. That's a bucket list.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so, dude. I just looking at the pictures since they redid it now and everything. It just looks so freaking good. It looks so good.
What do you think, Andrew? Road trip?
My cousin lives out there now, by the way.
Oh, good. We got a place to stay then.
Yeah, my cousin Ebony, she got married, and the guy has a ranch out there.
Cool. Just show up. Hey, you have no idea who we are, but we're staying with you for a few days.
Just call Jason; he'll vouch for us.
Yeah, your cousin Jason said it was okay.
Speaking of Wyoming, so we talked about before about Wyoming. There was a bill going through Wyoming that would protect paramilitary training as crucial as defined in the Second Amendment. Right? You guys remember that?
Yep.
Right. That was one we talked about. We had a lot of fun talking about that one. Bill to ban paramilitary training camps in Maine passed this legislator. The governor signed it, by the way.
There's a shock.
Yep.
A well-regulated militia be necessary. Yeah.
Yeah, Maine Senate voted 20-14 on Tuesday to give the final approval to the bill to make it illegal to instruct another person in firearms or explosives if the intent is to cause, quote, civil disorder.
My intent is to preserve society, not
So-
destroy it.
So
hold on.
if the intent
Allowed.
Democratic Senator Joe Baldacci of Bangor said during the floor speech on Tuesday that private militias are already prohibited in Maine, but that the law needed to be updated.
if the
Quote,
intent
so I think this bill is about us saying we are going to draw the line. We are not going to allow the people to flout this law and intimidate others.
So to disrupt the social order, wouldn't that preclude police training and
No. Quote, LD 2130, which is very similar to a Vermont law passed last year, would provide us with tools we need to address the rise in private military activity. By prohibiting paramilitary training, this bill strikes a careful balance between allowing legitimate First Amendment protected activity, such as the peaceful assembly, while prohibiting unprotected conduct that is a precursor to violence.
no, violence might be prohibited conduct, but peacefully
actual
assembling while armed,
So the Vermont bill, which we're going to do an update on after this one, was a response to Daniel Banyai, and his little shooting school in upstate Vermont, right? And then they're tear it down, and he's like, "Fuck you, no," and just kind of stalemated for a while, and then Daniel was arrested. We got an update on that. So this one is in response to a well-known, quote, prominent neo-Nazi who said on a podcast that he was interested in building a homestead in Maine on property that he owned. He sold the property immediately afterwards, and he's leaving Maine. But they still passed this bill even after he sold the property.
he wanted to build a private homestead,
Yes.
and that was grounds for
A ban on paramilitary training.
how is homesteading even remotely
A
close
ban
to-
on paramilitary training in a state that already bans militias.
Mm-hmm. And you know what's ironic? Like the most ironic about these is think about Vermont, Maine, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Connecticut. These are states that come up pretty frequently when you talk about the revolution.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And these are all of the states that are banning everything that enabled the revolution.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Ironic.
Yes.
Ironic, but honestly, if you look at history as a whole, not entirely surprising.
Well, not to get too theoretical on the issue, but we are, right, our quote-unquote Western culture, our ideology, our beliefs, right, how we want to live, we are living as conquered people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So there's very few places that you could go in the United States, or we could go in the United States and live among people that have a similar ideology, a similar belief system, similar culture.
Well, and even if you do, then they declare that you're clearly a paramilitary organization, and they proceed to do things like, shooting your wife in the back of the head as she holds your baby.
Yep. And then you get
Or
an ADL
entrapping
page.
you.
Then you get an ADL page made about you.
Yeah.
So, yes. So they banned paramilitary training in Maine as a response to a guy owning property in Maine and wanting to homestead.
I think too that like what's ridiculous about that is that and why I don't think it would ever actually hold up is that it relies on the subjective what was the intent, which means that
Yes.
you would need to show that the intent was to cause civil unrest, to cause something like that. So
Yeah.
like if I have a bunch of guys in the woods playing airsoft.
Well, yeah, the argument is because this guy, I cannot pronounce his last name. I've tried. It hurts me. I can't pronounce it. But he's the leader of Blood Tribe. Right? I'm sure you've seen them. They wear the red and black. You've seen them in Ohio with the swastikas and throwing the Roman salutes and all that good stuff. So just by being that person, the people that oppose what he believes will automatically decide that just by holding those beliefs, he is a violent threat. Right? Without action, just by holding that ideology, he is a violent threat.
Well, and the same people that say that are the same people that will stand there and parrot about how this political candidate or that political candidate or whatever are a violent threat to the future of the country because their beliefs are just too extreme.
Yes.
Oh, I love when those people, they're a threat to democracy. Well, American democracy. America isn't a democracy. It's a representative republic.
Democracy is a terrible idea, you guys. I'm just
right.
It's not a good idea at all.
I mean, James Madison himself said that democracies always wind up being tyrannies. That they always turn tyrannical. 100%
the other, two wolves and a lamb voting on what to have for dinner.
Pretty much.
Yeah. But I mean, like all of the founding fathers, almost all the founding fathers multiple times spoke out basically saying like when there was rumor that they were going to have a direct democracy that like, absolutely not. That's a terrible, terrible idea. We do not want a direct democracy. Direct democracies don't work. It's
one of the reasons for the creation of the 10 Amendments, right?
That was part of it. And then, I mean, and remember that in September of 1789, Benjamin Franklin's walking down the steps of Constitution Hall and gets asked by Elizabeth, I can't remember her last name, so what are we to be, a democracy or a monarchy? And he says a republic if you can keep it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, we're coming up next week, right? Today's the 14th. We're coming up on the 19th. The 19th is an anniversary that the ATF voted to have a barbecue and democracy Waco.
Yep.
So democracy doesn't work ever.
It doesn't.
No.
Yeah, I one of my favorite things I ever heard was my oldest sister once told me that the Electoral College is one of the greatest threats to democracy in America.
You know what? There's only like
the look on Andrew's face is perfect.
there's only, what is it? Only like 5 or 6 states actually hold electorates to the majority vote of the state or something like that. And only like 7 or 8 other states will actually punish an electorate delegate for going against the popular vote of the state or something like that. So like literally half the states in the United States, the electoral delegates don't have to follow the votes.
And that was intentional.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be that way because that was supposed to be another check and balance.
Yeah.
Like but I mean, like,
vote so hard, bro. Go vote so hard.
Yep.
I mean, technically, she's right. It is a threat to democracy, considering that its existence literally means that we're not a democracy and never have been.
Right. But she's missing the point.
Yeah, but she's missing that it says that we've never been a democracy.
Right.
Stop worrying about democracy. Like
oligarchy go burr.
Yeah, like we've always been a representative republic. We have always been a republic. Always, since day one, even under the Articles of Confederation, we were a republic. We have always been a republic in the United States.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah. Speaking of that, Vermont town removes unpermitted structures from defunct firearms training center while owner jailed. So, we know that Daniel was arrested. We saw the video, right? And he got beat up a little bit by the cop for quote unquote resisting. So a arrest warrant has been rescinded for the Vermont owner of a controversial firearms training center involved in a long-running legal dispute over unpermitted structures after the town said it has removed them while he remains jailed on other charges. An environmental court judge ordered Daniel Banyai's arrest in December, finding him in contempt of court for not bringing the property into compliance. Banyai was taken into custody last month and charged with aggravated assault on the constable who arrested him. He has pled not guilty. The property in Paulet, Vermont, known as Slate Ridge, included multiple buildings and 2 firing ranges on land about the size of 30 football fields. That's 12 hectares. In 2019, In 2019, the town first issued a violation notice to Banyai for building structures on the property without town approval. Slate Ranch neighbors complained about the gunfire and what they said were threats and intimidation by Banyai and his supporters. Many neighbors said they were afraid to talk publicly because they feared for their safety.
Yeah, I'm sure threats and intimidation. It was, hey, I don't like that you're firing guns. Yeah, well, that sucks for you. Go fuck yourself. That was what probably transpired, and I felt intimidated. That is because you are weak.
And again, going back to that lady that was shot in the back of the head by the federal government, like, it was a very peaceful standoff between Banyai and the town. Mm-hmm. Right? There was no shooting. There was no pointing guns at other people. The town said remove those buildings, and Daniel Banyai said no. And then the town said remove the buildings, and Daniel said no. And then,
but I've got a gun. I don't care. And that doesn't make sense. Too bad.
And then Daniel said, fine, I'll let you onto my property to see that I remove the buildings. And he let the fucking inspectors onto his property.
And then
inspectors walked around and then decided, you haven't removed the buildings. Remove the buildings. And he goes, no. And then he was in town in the passenger seat of a vehicle, and a cop saw him, and the cop arrested him, and him and the cop got into a fight, and now he's in jail. And then the town goes onto his property and removes the buildings that he got, quote, unpermitted, that he built unpermitted.
But you totally own your property.
Well, and remember, when he gave in, right? We said at the time when he gave in, like, the moment you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile. That's why you can't give them an inch. Yep. You have to just keep saying no. Yes. And the moment that he gave them an inch, you notice he went to jail. They destroyed everything. They did everything that they wanted the moment he gave the tiniest bit.
Yep. And this is a really, really, really good segue lead up. On the complete opposite side of the spectrum, and on the opposite side of the country, 10 years after the April 2014 standoff at the Bundy Ranch, Cliven's cows still graze on that quote-unquote disputed range, disputed property.
Yep. You can't beat the federal government. They have tanks and airplanes.
Really?
And you think they're gonna use those on American soil? Do you?
They'll just drop a bomb from a plane on you. Bro, I am your fucking neighbor.
Yeah, I literally live next door to the pilot's family, so I'm going to go ahead and call bullshit.
Go ahead.
Well, and I always talk about that, like, that people don't understand just how far danger close really is when you're talking about, like, a 500 or 1,000-pound bomb.
Or how weak the supply system is.
Yeah. Well, yeah, first of all, I
Planes
mean, because...
and tanks and armies have a very weak supply issue.
Why do you think Germany lost in World War II? Because they couldn't get fuel, they couldn't get steel, they couldn't get any of the stuff that they needed.
Yep.
Like, they had to resort to wood gasification, and if you're unaware of what that is, you should probably look it up because it's actually super useful to know how to do that.
Yes,
but
very cool. Very
they had
cool
to resort to wood gasification in order to run tanks. Like, just it's logistics, and that is why the M4 Sherman is the greatest tank of World War II. Not that it was the strongest, not that it had the strongest gun or anything else, but it was survivable enough that the crews kept surviving, and the tank would sacrifice itself instead of the crew, at which point they just go get another fucking Sherman because there are 7,000 of them that have arrived in the past afternoon. So you just go get another one and keep going. It's all about logistics. Well, if your war zone is also where all of your supply chain is, this causes a bit of a pickle. Because you can't possibly protect everything everywhere all the time.
Yeah. So the words, quote, revolution is tradition, stenciled in fresh blue and red paint, mark a cement wall and a dry wash beneath a remote southern Nevada freeway overpass, where armed protesters and federal agents stared each other down through rifle sights 10 years ago. It was just before noon on a hot, sunny Saturday when backers of cattle rancher Cliven Bundy, including hundreds of men, women, and children, made the U.S. Bureau of Land Management and U.S. Marshals and FBI quit enforcing court orders to remove Bundy Candle from vast arid rangeland surrounding his modest family ranch and a melon farm. Witnesses later said they feared the sound of car backfiring that would have unleashed a bloodbath, but no shots were fired. The government backed down, and some 380 Bundy cattle that had been impounded were set free. Quote, since then, we've relatively lived in peace, Ryan Bundy, eldest among the 14 Bundy siblings, said in a telephone interview. Quote, the BLM doesn't contact us, talk to us, or bother us.
Almost like they're scared.
Quick side note, Ryan Bundy was actually in the truck with Lavoy Fiddicum.
Yep.
When Lavoy was murdered by Oregon State Police.
Assassinated, but yes.
Yes. So, quote, the BLM doesn't have any comment on this subject. Agency spokesman John Asselin said in response to quote, the BLM doesn't have any comment on this subject. Agency spokesman John Asselin said in response to email inquiries about the standoff. Bundy's cattle grazing today in Golden Butte National Monument and the more than $1 million in unpaid grazing fees and penalties the BLM said Bundy owed in 2014. At the ranch, Cliven Bundy greeted guests this week while cradling one of his 74 grandchildren and 21 great-grandchildren that he and his wife, Carol Bundy. Yes. Yes. Quote, we're a little bit older, but we're still doing the exact same thing. Ranching. Yeah. Quote, later watching two of the sons of the friend rope yearling bulls in the pen, the plain-spoken and photogenic rancher who rallied followers through a bullhorn the day saying, quote, let's go get those cattle, recalled to being arrested, jailed for nearly 2 years, and brought to trial that was dismissed due to prosecutorial misconduct. Remember that the charges were dismissed with prejudice because the federal government kept lying and hiding evidence and fabricating other evidence.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. If I remember right, the prosecutor didn't actually get punished either.
No, of course not.
No, why would they?
Not. No. But yeah, they spent nearly 2 years. I think Ammon Bundy interview, I heard it was 22 months. Ammon Bundy spent 8 of those months in solitary confinement.
Good Lord.
Yeah. No.
That's psychological torture.
Yes.
Is what that is.
Quote, I've had that dot on my forehead and on my chest, and I've had my family with dots on their foreheads, the 77-year-old patriarch said of the feeling of being in target crosshairs. Courtroom evidence later revealed that federal agents with rifles had camped for days on the hills around Bundy's ranch before and during the showdown on April 12th, 2014.
Gosh, that sounds an awful lot like something that happened up in the mountains of Idaho.
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
His family and followers were unfairly targeted by the heavy-handed government agents. Bundy said but rescued by backers, including militia members and supporters he calls, quote, we the people. Quote, they were announcing on the bullhorn, you're defying a federal court order. We demand you to disperse or we will fire on you, said Mike Bronson, 68, a family friend from Midway, Utah, who recalled kneeling in a praying ring in front of the corral beneath the overpass. Quote, that's exactly what they said, time after time after time.
Yeah, and when they had all of those rifles pointed back at them, they ultimately decided that perhaps firing on the protesters was a very bad decision.
Oh, man, dude, that image of E.J. Parker laying on the freeway overpass with his AK between the Jersey barriers, pointing at the BLM and the marshals, and oh my God, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. That is
an iconic image.
That is one of the most just fantastic images, and he's up there in jeans and a flannel and work boots.
Yep.
Right. I mean, this is just an. This is our guy, right? This is our guy, right? Holds the same sort of beliefs that we do, the same culture, the same wants and desires that we do. And he's up there in fucking jeans and work boots and a flannel shirt, pointing a rifle at federal agents, defying federal court order, saying, not this time.
Yeah. Yep. No, this is unjust. You are not allowed to do this.
Oh,
that right there is exactly what the Second Amendment is for, is to keep a tyrannical government scared.
Yep.
Oh. And that is what the people in Vermont and Maine fear. That is why they banned, quote, paramilitary training by people that told them no. That's all that they did. They told them no. They said, we're not going to toe your line. We're not going to be part of your agenda. We're not going to support your policies. We're not going to be silent against things that go against our culture, our beliefs. And for that, the government labeled them terrorists and violent and passed bills literally banning their ideologies, their cultures, their traditions.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean,
and Colorado is now doing it also. Right? I mean,
Yep.
Colorado has a real rich militia history. You know, they got some old boys up there that have been up there a long time, and they're gonna try and ban that.
Well, don't forget that, like, you know, because of all of the bills that Colorado's been passing, Gunsmoke had to close its doors.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, yeah, like we said, like Magpul pulled out of Colorado a decade ago.
They saw the writing on the wall and they're like, no, we're done with this.
What is it? Winchester just left New York.
Yep, Winchester left.
Smith and Wesson. One of them just left Connecticut.
Yeah, there was a time where the Connecticut River Valley was literally the center of the gun world.
Mm-hmm.
Like every gun manufacturer who was anyone was headquartered in the Connecticut River Valley. And now none of them are.
Yeah.
Except one.
So I'm guessing. I mean, I really don't think we need to read the entire rest of the
Oh,
article.
it's such a long article.
But the last four little snippets here, I got to read these.
Go ahead.
The April 2014 standoff was a victory, Arden Bundy said, because, quote, nobody got killed and the cows came back. Asked what would happen if the government tried again to round up Bundy cattle, he was direct. If we have to call people, we'll call all of our followers from YouTube and social media, Arden Bundy said. There was 1,000 there last time, Clevin Bundy said. There'll be 10,000 next time.
And there will be.
At least.
That would be a beautiful thing. Can you imagine like 500 federal agents show up to try it again and to basically steal this guy's inherited rights, and 10,000 people show up to stop them?
Yeah. So there's give me two paragraphs. There's a quote I want to read from Ian Bartram. He's a University of Nevada, Las Vegas law professor who studied and wrote about the standoff in federal land policy. Okay, just hold your tongue for just a second. It said, quote, Bunkerville was an early warning sign of the MAGA Trump movement. He cited, quote, a growing militia movement looking for someone to fight. I think we can safely say 10 years later, the Bundys won that fight, and the federal regulators don't seem all that eager to try again. We have bigger problems than cattle on public land at this point. I will argue, this is me not quoting anymore, that the Trump MAGA thing is entirely responsive. It's not organic. It could have been literally anyone. It just happened to be Donald Trump. Right. So calling it a Trump MAGA movement is disingenuous. It literally could have been anyone that stood up and told those people no. Mm-hmm. Right. Like McCain and Romney, right? You know, in 2012, they were yes men. Right. There was that's why the Ron Paul movement was so large in 2012. So 2016 rolls along, and it's like Hillary Clinton versus literally anyone. Please, anyone.
Anyone
that would stand up and say no. Anyone that stands up and says no. Right, and that was what fueled.
That was the lightning they captured, that Trump captured in a bottle, was that anybody but Clinton.
Anybody but Clinton. Anyone that stands up and says no. Right, propaganda. Right, we talk about propaganda on the show more than a few times. Propaganda is extremely powerful, and when you have propaganda like E.J. Parker, right, on that overpass, when you have the propaganda of the ranchers and the people on the horses and the American flags flapping in the breeze, and they're standing on the gate facing the federal government that is hiding behind the trucks and holding rifles, and there's such a powerful image, right? It's very similar to the pipeline in North Dakota, right? With the natives up there on the ridge at the horses, defying them building the pipeline across their property. It's a very powerful image, and if you don't kill that propaganda, that image, right, you're not gonna be able to defeat that ideology. Right, that's what they're doing with this paramilitary training ban on the East Coast, is they're breeding out and killing that culture, that image. Right, they're preventing the possibility of that propaganda to exist in that area. Right, they're changing the culture of those areas by essentially banning. They're using their power, the political power, to ban the opposing cultures,
which in reality, if you really think about it, is just the latest salvo in that particular fight. because they've been slowly, methodically banning it for
Yeah.
decades at this
Well,
point.
the power of propaganda leading up to the Revolutionary War.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the do good papers and all that good stuff. Like that was huge. That was huge for
common sense.
uh-huh.
You know,
Yep.
I mean that there's a reason why one of the things that the redcoats, when they would come into places that had been kind of hotspots for revolution, is they would smash the printing presses.
Yes.
Because they wanted to remove that ability to create propaganda. I mean, look at the the Irish Republican Army and throughout the Troubles, and why they just kept getting stronger and kept getting stronger during the Troubles. And you look at a lot of their propaganda from then is still there. Like you can go to Derry, you can go to Belfast, you can go to lots of places across Ulster, and you can see the paintings up on the walls, the great big murals that are, have Bobby Sands on them and the other hunger strikers, and and then these images of the the uniformed masked IRA members standing there with their rifles, and like you see all this propaganda, and that was huge. Like that made a lot of difference to people. And you'll see it if you go to you go into the Protestant neighborhoods in Belfast. You'll see the same kind of propaganda, but for the Loyalist movement. And you'll see those same kinds of murals and stuff all over the place. And you'll see them do, the fucking UVF still does marches and things. You still see the oranges doing marches and protests and things. And like that stuff still happens because it's a really powerful statement, and it sticks with people a lot when that stuff happens. So, like
is that what's going wrong with Ireland these days?
Oh, there's a lot going wrong with Ireland these days, and most of it is a direct result of the Loyalist movement. Yes.
We could get so spicy on what's happening in Ireland right now.
Yes.
Oh boy. It's, I mean, and the reality is that it's basically what's happening is exactly what the IRA warned the people of Ireland would happen.
It's because people stopped saying no.
Yeah. The moment they gave an inch, the moment they gave an inch. Yep. And like, and in 98, like everyone was exhausted. I get it. It had been, more than, like almost 30 years of violence by that point, and people were really tired of it. But the reality is, if you actually look back now and you analyze where the British government was versus where the IRA was and everything, the government was on the ropes. That was the whole reason why they kept suing for peace rather than just going, we're just going to beat you. Is like Thatcher was out because no one wanted to deal with her bullshit anymore. So Thatcher was gone, and somebody, and the rest of Parliament did not want to continue fighting. Like they were like, this is ridiculous. Why are we fighting so hard for this? This is stupid. Yeah. And they were on the ropes. They were getting ready. Like they were, I mean, you were probably only a few years away from them finally throwing up their hands and going, fine, you can have it. We don't want it anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
Now I have Lizzie's in a Box playing in my head.
Yeah.
We could do a whole episode on Ireland's troubles.
Yeah. I mean,
that would lead into like a 10 episode series.
Yeah, well, I mean, especially now that I feel like maybe we should, especially now that what's his face is gone, doesn't have the podcast anymore, and the page isn't up anymore and everything.
Yeah, Matt Freeman, status quo.
Yeah, now the status quo is gone. Like that's, I feel like we could do that because now there's not that wealth of information out there easily accessible any longer.
Yeah,
so. I'd be down. I'd definitely be down. That would be fun. A
different perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, there's a lot of subtlety to it and stuff, and like interesting things that need to be brought up about it too. But but I mean, my whole point with the rabbit trail is that, like that propaganda made such a gigantic difference, that having those iconic images and exploiting those iconic images to their fullest, like I kind of want to do, that picture of Parker, have it done as like a 4-color poster, and with the text, and stuff, and like, because it's such an iconic image, and it would be a really amazing like propaganda tool. And propaganda gets a lot of negative connotation, but it shouldn't. Propaganda can be used for good or evil.
Every meme is propaganda. These patches are propaganda. Music, the patch on your hat, keep your rifle by your side, that is a phenomenal piece of pop culture propaganda.
It was not supposed to be.
It was not supposed to be. Yes, I know.
We all just like ran with it.
It was supposed to be the opposite, right? But that was created by people that don't have the same culture that we do.
Ubisoft inadvertently like did a lot of inspiration for stuff with that Far Cry game, and it's because they were too good. Like, they created too believable a militia and stuff, right. And like, so it actually, and it was too fleshed out, and everyone was like, oh, actually I kind of like that.
Right. And it's so where the game took place also plays into that, right? Montana, where if it was in Texas, it would be a different, it would have an entirely different connotation to the
well, and it's, and what was funny too is like, Far Cry is so good at creating fantastic villains, where it's like, but are they a villain? And and with Seed, you discover, spoilers, but you discover he actually was right.
Yes.
The whole time he was right.
Yeah. The first we bought that, like I saw a trailer for it or something, and my brother bought it for me for my birthday, right? Because it's like militia and Montana, right? And my brother's like, oh, okay, Jason will like that. My brother bought it for me, and I don't know, I was probably an hour into the game, and my brother and I were both like, we're on the wrong side.
The funny thing is it has one of those secret endings, like all of them do. You can choose not to.
Yeah. If you don't arrest him in the church at the beginning,
yeah, the game just ends.
Yes,
that's because you made the right decision, and it's over.
Yes,
but like a lot of them, those games, like, what I really love about them is they subvert the idea of the good guy and the bad guy in a conflict.
The black and white. Yeah.
I mean, since Far Cry 3, because like Far Cry 3, even, like, don't get me wrong, the main villain in that is nuts, but you find out over the course of the game that it's not his fault that he's nuts. Like, that he's not the one actually making these decisions. Like, necessarily, he's working for someone else.
Yeah, Far Cry 6 is the same way. Yeah.
Yeah, and you realize, like, oh wait, it's actually not their fault that they appear evil and everything else. And I think that's just so cool that they do that, and they're so good at doing that, because it really, I think it wakes some people up. Like, but with Far Cry, like with Far Cry 5, it was hilarious because, like, you remember all of those reviewers, like all those liberal hyper lefty reviewers are like, well, am I supposed to not like these people? I don't understand. Like, why are they even on my side? I don't get it. Like, it's a joke, man. He's a joke. Herc is a joke. Like, he even appears in Far Cry Primal as Herky.
Yeah.
Who tries to fly and throws himself off a cliff.
Yes.
I love the reference though to Far Cry 3 with Herc, where you where with the monkey bombs, where he's got that little altar to that monkey god to continue to ask for forgiveness for blowing up all the little monkeys. Oh, but
Oh.
I mean, that's even that, the power of propaganda and like the say yes, remember, and all of that stuff. And it's really, really powerful, man. It's a really powerful tool.
Yeah,
And if your movement isn't harnessing
your
it,
sins,
yeah. I mean, to this day, I still like my heart rate shoots up if I hear Only You.
Yes.
I'm just like, no.
Start getting a little dizzy.
Yeah, like it's oh god, that they did that way too well. It was deeply troubling.
It was good. It was real good. But yeah, like even the soundtrack, right? The soundtrack for that game it's on my phone.
Yeah, I really like the soundtrack too. It's really, really good. Even the non like the non-choral stuff, just the regular music is just so good. And I was a really big fan. I still really want a Spread Eagle shirt.
Yes.
The bar. I really want a shirt with that logo on it really badly. That's like Spread Eagle. And what was the name of the town in Montana? I can't remember what the name of the town is, but that would be a cool shirt. But they never made one.
Yeah,
they made stuff like for the town, and they made
Chris
stuff for some of the other stuff.
Hope County.
Hope County, yeah. And like I would love a Spread Eagle bar, Hope County, Montana, and with that logo on it. No one makes one. I've looked for years. I looked at the time when the game was big. No one made one. I was very disappointed.
I kept my rifle by my side at the Spread Eagle.
Yeah, it's yeah, but it's but that the not hard, so many people like they'll use memes and stuff, and like people disparage memes, and you really shouldn't because they are propaganda. But like the reality is, if you don't, you don't harness that power to help your side of things, like you are going to kill your own movement because you're not using a tool that you need to use, and I guarantee you, your enemy will use constantly.
If you don't, you've already lost. You just don't know it yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is the quote? I don't remember who it's from. I think it's from a Spaniard. He said, "Art is the heart of the revolution."
Yeah,
right. Because you have to have heroes, right? You have to have people to look up to examples to follow, right? Which is why we have canonized people like Marvin Heemeyer, Ricky and Randy, Clive and Bundy, right? Ed and Elaine Brown, Sky King.
I think I'm going to do a barrel roll, and then we're probably just going to put our nose down.
Yeah,
call it a night.
Yeah, call it a night. Oh, yeah. So, John C.
Yeah, I mean, that's maybe the seeds are not people that you want as your your icons, but
depends on where your beliefs are at that moment.
I mean, I guess, yeah, but like, my whole thing with it, with that game that I thought it did really good job of was that it did show like that a fairly small initial movement. I mean, it's, it was that dude, his two brothers and his sister.
Yes.
And like, that's how it started. And that little movement grew into this huge thing that took over a county. And like, they showed how that can happen. And, look at what happened with Bundy, where this little, place that no one had heard of, this ranch no one had heard of, a law that no one had heard of, all of the sudden mobilizes thousands of people. And now, the Bundys have not forgotten what that did, like what getting that word out and talking to people and things, what that did for them. And they've really harnessed it since. So yeah, you're totally going to see 10,000 people the next time around. Yeah, it's going to be great.
Andrew, you need to go check the group chat right
What now? Did you find it?
I found the shirt.
Yes, Buckshot. You need to play that game. You found it? Let's find the shirt.
I found the
holy
shirt.
Shit, you did. Awesome. Yep. Well, gonna have to buy one of those. But yeah, you do have to go play. That game is absolutely fantastic. The entire plot, the dialogue, the acting in it is so good. Man, and it's just like if you don't want to get into a gunfight and you just kind of head up into the mountains for a bit there, like it's just so tranquil.
Did he get attacked by an eagle?
Yeah, or a wolverine or
a bear or skunk gets sprayed
I
by a
was gonna say
skunk.
if it's an eagle, that's right up Andrew's alley.
Yeah.
I watched a single wolverine take down like 15 of my people once in that, and like just kept killing them, and I'm like, oh no, stop, oh no.
Yes. Or the moose that will attack you.
Dude, those crazy drugged up moose.
So
yeah.
But yeah, that quote, that last quote, there was 1,000 last time. There will be 10,000 there next time. Okay. This was 10 years ago, and there was easily 1,000 people there. Right? I remember like James Yeager and Reed Hendricks and all those guys coming out from Tennessee. Haas USMC and his boys came down from Oregon. There's people down from Idaho and Montana and Wyoming. It drew people from all over, right? People that had voices from all over that came out there. There was tons of podcasts done, tons of videos that are still up on YouTube of being out there. There was a lot of media about the Bundy standoff, about what was happening, about the tyranny of the federal government and what they were doing to this rancher. And it's been 10 years, right? And that has, if you look at the tyranny of the last 10 years, of all the gun control bills, of all the culture jamming, of all the programming, of inflation, of job desecration, of jobs going overseas, of the economy going to shit, of prices going up, of the whole COVID thing, of just, there's so much has gone on in the last 10 years. I think 10,000 would be an understatement.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that being a really low number.
Yeah, really, I mean the sheer amount of pushback going on, you know, even across the political aisle. Even I know quite a few people that, you know, 5 years ago they would have all been hardcore on the left, and then after seeing especially everything that happened during COVID and how much more fucked the economy's gotten since then. And everything else, they're like, nah, fuck that shit. I'm not dealing with that ever again. And I know I can personally count 12 first-time gun buyers I helped pick out their first handguns in the last 3 years. Because they're finally coming around to understanding what this is all about.
My 22-year-old female UC Berkeley graduate cousin has asked me last Thanksgiving, came and talked to me about firearms.
Wow.
Yeah, she is she's a liaison between the community and the county, right? So she's like a homeless advocate,
okay,
or a culture advocate, or whatever you want to call it. So she's a really, really far on the left, and she came to me asking about firearms. We previously talked 2 or 3 years ago, where she started carrying pepper spray, and now she's asking me about firearms. So
yeah. It's not getting any better out there.
No, it's only going to get worse. So, especially with all the happenings in the Middle East right now.
Oh yeah, when I saw what Iran was doing, I was like, oh,
yay!
Well, I'm glad that I'm stocked up on non-perishable food.
The meme that floats around, it's like born too late to die in the Middle East, and it shows like Desert Storm. Born
too early to die in the Middle East.
Yeah, born too early to die in the Middle East, and it's like Afghanistan, Iraq. Born just in time to die in the Middle East, and it's like, oh.
Yep.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've talked to you guys. I don't know if I ever mentioned him on this channel, but I've got a cousin who's he's a 1LT in a
that means he doesn't get lost, right?
no 1LT still get lost. It's not until they get to be a captain that they don't have to worry about it anymore. Usually because at that point they've decided that they should trust their NCOs a little more.
I love that meme of that bear. That's the first lieutenant that's poking. Hello, Sergeant? Anyone?
But his entire group,
Captain CT,
yeah,
compass tot.
But his battalion is currently in the Gaza Strip, putting up that temporary port for delivering humanitarian aid.
Yeah.
After those orders came down to them, the day after President Dementia went up in front of and gave his State of the Union address saying there will be no boots on the ground in Gaza, no U.S. boots on the ground in Gaza. I get a text from my cousin. I'm going to Gaza.
I mean, that was a guarantee. Like,
yes.
think about like how many times presidents have said no boots on the ground, right? They said
the Biden came out today and said that we're not going to be part of the response against Iran.
but our support for Israel is ironclad.
We're already part of it.
Yeah, but like he said, but he also said in the same breath, but our support for Israel is ironclad.
Yeah, because they're shooting the U.S. bombs that we gave them.
It's yeah. Have you ever seen the propaganda? Speaking of propaganda in Iran, the propaganda in Iran about the United States, it makes the U.S. look like the most metal place ever.
Mm-hmm.
Like because you can go. Well, you can't, but you can't because you have American passports. But if you don't have an American passport and you have, say, an Irish passport, you can go to Iran and you can go tour the former U.S. embassy. And they've turned it into a museum with an entire section about American occupation of Iran. And like it has like all these propaganda posters, and they just make the US look cool as hell. Like it's so metal. Google them sometime. They really do. They make us look super awesome. And I'm like, yeah.
America, fuck yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you don't say that if you're in Iran. That would be a terrible decision. But
that'd be a really good way to end up, no longer attached to your head. But
no, they'd probably throw you in prison. They might just throw you out. But
if you're lucky, you just get thrown out.
Yeah, it really depends on what mood the local police are in at the time,
and how many rocks are available.
If you could potentially be an American, whether you are or not, and you're in Iran, you need to be very, very careful. Very careful, because there's still a lot of people who were part of that revolution who are still there.
Yeah, they haven't banned paramilitary training in Iran.
No. They also have it in places like Afghanistan and Pakistan and a lot of the stands.
You also don't need a license to be a gunsmith in Afghanistan.
Afghanistan has a Rambo movie dedicated to the brave fighters of the Mujahideen.
that aged really, really well.
So well.
I'd completely forgotten about that. That's fantastic.
But I mean, that
Charlie Wilson's just going, oh.
Yeah. If you guys had just listened.
Well,
yeah. And the thing is like that whole thing with Iran is one of those things that has me yet again looking back at, like the book of Revelations and going, what were some of the signs there again? There were all of these were listed. Okay, yeah, that's neat. So like earthquakes and hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, wars.
Yeah. Pastor Baldwin's doing a Revelation series right now.
Yeah. If you don't want to be scared for the future, don't look into that.
Oh. Okay.
I just plan on being gone before it gets too bad.
Can we go to a happy article now?
Yeah.
Well, okay, not happy, not happy. Let's just okay. In the roughly 90 minutes. So this is out of Washington.
I fucking love this story.
I love this story so much. I want this guy's face on a shirt.
I want to fly out there literally just to shake this man's hand.
Just to shake the man, yeah. Yeah. Bring him up a pizza or something. So Washington banned, quote, high capacity magazines, right, which is anything over 10. And then there was some court orders, and the court issued, said it was unconstitutional, and then it took about 90 minutes for the state to appeal and to get the ruling, to get a stay on the ruling, right? So in the roughly 90 minutes that selling high-capacity gun magazines was legal in Washington on Monday, a Kelso store owner sold hundreds of magazines to hundreds of customers before the state stepped in and successfully had the ban reinstated.
I want to point out, California had an entire Freedom Week. These guys had 90 minutes.
Yes.
And he's like,
hundreds,
free for all.
Yeah, and now when those rulings in California, now when they get ruled unconstitutional, they automatically get a stay to prevent that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's so stupid.
I agree.
Right? The entire concept of the bans in the first place is stupid.
Yes. A Cowlitz County judge overturned Washington's ban on high-capacity magazines on Monday, finding it unconstitutional. But the Washington Supreme Court quickly approved a request for an emergency stay on the order requested by the Washington Attorney General's office. The result, a statewide ban on the sale, manufacture, distribution, and import of gun magazines with a capacity more than 10 rounds remains in place for now. A hearing is set for April 17th, with escalation to the state Supreme Court possible. Wally Wentz, owner of Gators Custom Guns in Kelso, described Monday as, quote, magazine day at the store.
Wally Wentz, at Gators Custom Guns.
You got it.
Yes. Wentz is behind the court challenge to Washington's high-capacity magazine ban with the help of the Silent Majority Foundation. When a Cowlitz County judge ruled in favor Monday, Wentz opened the store on an off day, put out a blast on Facebook, and sold as many magazines as he could. Quote, a flow of constant thank yous. Do you have this? Do you have that? How many can I have? Wentz said, referring to customers who came by. Quote, is there a limit? I said, what's the limit on your gold card?
Is there a limit? What's the limit on your gold card? I will sell you as many of these fucking things as you want.
Fucking, I'm here for it.
Yes. Washington Attorney General Bob Ferguson, in a statement following the initial ruling, said the magazine ban saves lives and is essential to addressing mass shootings.
No, it does not.
Do you remember when they first started bringing up the magazine ban shit on a national level back in, I think it was 14 or something like that? They did a shooting drill where they had the same guy with one 30-round magazine and three 10-round magazines.
That guy was a sheriff.
And he unloaded the 3 10 rounds faster than he unloaded the full 30.
Yep.
Yes.
Because it gave his finger time to rest in between the magazine.
Wentz said he's hoping for a legal win so he could put high-capacity magazines at his store back on the shelves. He says he's lost 30 to 40% of his business with the ban, and said that he would not hesitate to appeal. So, appeal the case to the U.S. Supreme Court. Quote, if we do lose in there, we're going to appeal just like we knew the state would appeal this time. If we get to those folks in the black dresses, it's going to be a dogfight. So
I love how disingenuous these fuckers are. Like the Patty Carter, who's a Democrat, in the state Senate there, and she said it just limits the number of bullets that can be fired at one time. No, that would still be one.
Yep, it would still be one.
That would still be one. Yeah,
unless you have a Project Spew rifle. In
or
which
what's
case
the
I want it.
the double star?
Oh yeah, the two. Well, there's also the
Gilbo.
what is it, the
Gilboa
snake?
Yeah, the Gilboa snake.
Yeah, like, and that thing, that thing in military hardware is full auto. It is designed to be full auto.
Oh.
Well, I don't need the wife tonight.
I can only get so erect.
Like I said, I don't need the wife tonight. Jesus.
Yeah, the Gilboa snake. So if you're unfamiliar with it, it's basically two side by side ARs, except in the American version, it's a specially built set of uppers that eject opposite ways. So they have bolts that eject left and right. And it has two separate triggers because legally you can't fire two bullets with one trigger pull,
there's
run the risk of running afoul.
There's an exception to that because I know that there was a company that made a single trigger pull on I want to say it was a 22 Magnum revolver that fired 2 rounds, and that's considered volley fire, and that's perfectly legal.
Yeah. So
what's that?
Like the Lamat?
I don't remember.
Well, no, a Lamat revolver doesn't actually do that. A Lamat revolver has an outside cylinder that fires pistol bullets and a center that fires a shotgun shell because France.
Yeah. Okay. You're right.
But in civilian clothes, this has 2 different triggers. But it's 2 different triggers. And it is like a standard lower, more or less, that you're holding. But then you have this weird thing up front. In original guys that was designed for the military, because again, it's about increasing hit probability because you generally have such a short period of time where you can actually hit a target. The military version was set up to be the 2 uppers that would feed from a specially designed double mag and had 1 trigger that would fire both barrels and could fire them full auto, which means that you could theoretically, and it was designed to take their double mag is 230s. So it's 60 rounds in there. And it just, holy crap. And you can sight them separately. So you could sight them to both have a single aim point or to be in parallel. And they use a single sight. So you just sight each barrel however you want. So it's super freaking cool. It's super cool. The civilian one less so.
On that note, March 2024 marks the 56th consecutive month of more than 1 million gun sale background checks.
More.
More. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm just gonna say, I did my part.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
I did my part.
I just picked up a CZ-P10C.
I do love CZs. Vastly superior to anything that John
Austrian company
created for a pistol.
Yeah. Blah, 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 blah. National Shooting
Company that also sells Horsecom.
The National Shooting Sports Foundation adjusted the reported data to reflect only background checks for gun sales, noted the final figure of 1,442,061 checks in March 2024. 56th month in a row that has exceeded 1 million background checks in a single month?
I'm
fantastic.
telling you what they should do.
All right, technical question.
For a long boy, so like 20 inches or longer?
Yeah, that's what we're going to go to, 20.
A 20-inch? I probably would go with something in the 4-pound range. Probably a drop-in single stage, like the Rise Armament makes a good one.
KE has a couple of good ones too.
Yeah, they do. In my 18,
he says 18 or 20.
In my 18, I've got a Hyperfire that's a 3.5 pound. That's a 2-stage.
I'd almost rather have a 2-stage in a longer gun, to be honest, than a single stage. Like,
yeah,
I mean,
if you're
be able to
with a longer gun,
you're
you're probably going to be sitting. More likely, you're not going to be lugging that thing around. You're going to be sitting on a bench or on a rest somewhere. So in that case,
on a freeway overpass.
Yeah, or on a freeway overpass.
Through
a little gap.
I would, if you're on a budget of any kind, like if you're on a low end budget of any kind, LaRue Tactical actually makes a really nice one for about $100.
LaRue's really good at propaganda, also, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Their pictures and memes are fantastic.
But I like my Hyperfire 2-stage.
Yeah, I really like 2 stages. If I'm going for accuracy, like it's really hard to argue for me with a 2-stage because it just feeling that take up and being able to sit right on that wall is so nice.
It is. For a bluff top gun, well, then probably a 5.56 isn't your go-to for that particular application.
That round's not gonna be the best when there's a crosswind.
No.
Flannel Daddy put out a video today on the 8.6. You might want to go watch it.
Ooh. See,
but if you're talking about 2-stage, I mean, obviously you have the old standbys. Geisley makes some fantastic triggers. If you're on a budget, that LaRue Tactical for $100, you can't go wrong with it. Still like a 4.5 pound pull on it, but it's not terrible.
Yeah, see, I just really, really like the KEs because the KEs, even with the gun not charged, I can put it on safe, which I just like. I like that ability to put it on safe when the gun isn't charged so that I know for certain this thing is not going to become a problem.
Yeah, the LaRue you can do that with. And I know you can do that with like my Hyperfire. You can put it on safe with them.
Yep. Yes, the Flannel Daddy video was. Yes.
I'm gonna have to go watch that after this.
Yes. Yes, you are. Yes. Yeah.
Because
take the tissues with you.
After this, I'm going to be going to help the wife put the littles to bed.
By the way, did you see, speaking of Flannel Daddy, that whole thing where he was disassembling Glocks while that firearms expert for Congress or whatever was trying to take the slide off of the one?
That was a person that they were for the like ATF director.
Okay, yeah. While he was trying to disassemble one, and he disassembles like at least 10.
Like 10. Yeah.
And it's like, dude, disassembling a Glock is like the easiest. It is intentionally stupid easy.
Yes.
Yeah. There's a reason why a lot of other manufacturers, like the CZ, has the same takedown.
Yeah.
There's a reason. It's because it's stupid simple. Except this one doesn't want to come off. Whatever.
It's stupid. Now you're starting to look like him. Now you're starting.
There's a catch on the inside of this one. The CZ has a secondary catch on the inside that you have to release, and I just don't have the.
All right, we got about 12 minutes. Let's jump on this last one. Biden admin finalizes controversial rule to expand background checks on gun sales.
You know why it's fucking controversial is because it's unconstitutional.
The U.S. Attorney General says the change required by the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act enacted June 25, 2022 will save lives by requiring anyone, quote, who devotes time, attention, and labor to dealing in firearms as a regular course of trade or business, or predominantly earns a profit through the repetitive purchase and sale of firearms, to obtain a federal firearms license. Quote, under this regulation, it will not matter if the guns are sold on the internet, at a gun show, or a brick and mortar store.
It already doesn't matter. If you are required to have an FFL, you have to do the background checks.
Yes. Okay.
Yep.
Quote, under this regulation, it will not matter if the guns are sold on the internet, at a gun show, or at a brick and mortar. I've never seen a gun sold on the internet at a gun show.
The internet. I think it's on the internet, comma, at
no,
a gun show.
That's
comma.
not what the quote says.
I know that's not what the quote says, but I think that's what was meant. It was meant to say, but yeah, it does say on the internet at a gun show.
Or at a brick and mortar store. Quote, if you sell guns predominantly to earn a profit, you must be licensed and you must conduct background checks. Attorney General Merrick Garland wrote in a statement on the ATF website.
So but that means all of those collectors out there.
I was gonna say, but the way the rule is written, if I say I bought a gun for $600 and the value of that gun goes up to $700 and I sell it to Andrew for $700, I am engaging in the business of selling traffic firearms.
And you're a bad friend.
Well, of course. I mean, there may or may not have been one or two firearms that changed hands between us, but I never raked him over
tacos.
the coals.
We're not talking about firearms. We're talking about tacos. Don't drone us, bro.
But the thing is, though, is like,
fuck off.
This what makes me chuckle about this is, like, do you remember a little thing called the Hughes Amendment and what that was an amendment to?
The FOPA.
FOPA, which stands for the Firearms Owners Protection Act, which was enacted because the ATF was going after absolutely everyone who sold more than one gun in a year and charging them as being an unlicensed firearms dealer. And so the Republican-controlled Congress under who? Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
Decided to pass that, and then the Democrats threw the Hughes Amendment on, which closed the machine gun registry, and Reagan said at the time, oh, well, but this FOPA is so important that we're not going to let it get killed by this poison pill, and passed it anyway. And you'll notice not only do we have a closed machine gun registry, but now all the same bullshit that led to the passing of FOPA in the first place is coming right back around anyway. So it protected nothing. Stop putting your faith in politicians.
Yes. Critics of the change say the rule will effectively end private transactions, possibly including the inheritance of firearms within families. According to the ATF statement, President Joe Biden issued Executive Order 14092 on March 14, 2023, which directed Mr. Garland to clarify the definition of who is engaged in business of dealing firearms. The plan immediately drew criticism from the gun rights activists. Representative Bob Good, Republican out of Virginia, he wrote, quote, the ATF is using the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act to substantially revise all regulations governing who and what constitutes a dealer and how such dealers may conduct business. The proposal advances a radical left-wing agenda that will undermine the Second Amendment and the constitutional rights of all Americans. We talked before about deference, right? This is a complete rewrite of the law under the guise of ATF regulations, which is protected currently under
Chevron deference.
Chevron deference.
Yeah. And this is exactly the stuff, this is the things that we all have been saying for years, right? They're going to look for backdoor gun registration. They're going to look for back doors to things. And this is exactly what it is.
Yes.
Because if all firearms transactions now effectively need to have background checks, even though they're supposed to destroy those, we all know they don't. They've proven that in court more than once.
The FRT triggers, the force reset triggers. That's the proof that they don't destroy those documents.
Well, not only that, but how many times have they actually admitted in court that they have a database of all of the 4473s that have been turned into them? Yep. Now according to the rule, it's not supposed to be searchable.
Yes.
How hard is control?
Okay, it's not supposed to be searchable, but yet in California they will give reporters and gun control groups the data for their propaganda. Like the list of firearms owners in California, the list of concealed carry concealed carry permit owners in California was given to gun control groups in California under Freedom of Information Act request because they wanted to use it for their data.
Yeah. And so as a direct, we know that the 4473s are being used as a gun registry. Like we know it's being used as a gun registry. And
which is exactly what everybody said was going to happen when they first instituted 4473.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And now they want to try and close not the gun show loophole, which is a thing that doesn't exist and everybody knows it doesn't exist. It's what they want to do is they want to shut down all private party transactions that are unregulated right now and make sure that they get a record of that transaction so that they can continue to track the guns. Because otherwise what can happen is, somebody buys a gun 4473, they have it for 5-10 years, and then they sell it to somebody else, private party to private party, who sells it private party to private party, who sells it private party. Now they have no idea where that gun is, and they want to know where they all are at all times.
Okay. According to the 466-page rule.
Fucking hell.
I'm going to read that again. According to the 466-page rule, the only requirement for determining whether a person is engaged in the business of selling guns is whether the person is trading to, quote, predominantly earn a profit rather than to earn, quote, a livelihood. So if you're selling or trading a gun to earn a profit, you are running afoul of this new ATF rule. Doesn't matter if you're doing it to make a livelihood. It doesn't matter if it's your job. If you're selling it to your buddy to make a couple extra bucks, then you are earning a profit. And you have to have an FFL now.
Or you have to take it to an FFL.
Yeah, you'd have to, the transaction itself has to run through the FFL at that point.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's
no. If you sell guns predominantly to earn a profit, you must be licensed and you must conduct background checks.
Yeah, that it means that it has to go through an FFL. Now, whether that means that you have to become an FFL,
you must be licensed.
No, it says you must be licensed, so you must be the one holding the FFL.
Well, right, if you're the one selling it, but that's the whole thing, is what you would have to do at that point is you would have to sell it to the FFL. The FFL is the one selling it.
No, if you can't sell Chris a gun without you being an FFL. Because you
only
have
if
to
it makes a profit.
Yeah, only if it makes a profit.
Yeah, if it makes a profit. So who's to say that it makes a profit? I mean, first of all. Second of all, I didn't sell him a gun. I sold him a bunch of cookies. The gun was a gift.
That's right.
What gun?
Yeah,
he sold me 6 cases of Thin Mints. I mean,
yeah, that was what made the profit.
With 6 cases of Thin Mints is almost as much as it got.
It is too.
You didn't think I just arbitrarily pulled that number out of my ass, did you?
six cases of Thin Mints. Seriously? Yeah. Well, where's the evidence of that? I mean, it was obviously destroyed because do you want evidence that you ate 6 cases of Thin Mints?
Bro, my BMI is 27%.
I turned around and I sold those. Yeah, I turned around and resold those 6 cases of Thin Mints just by driving over to Minnesota, where now the weed's legal, and I just parked my ass outside the dispensary.
Yeah, see, I wasn't selling firearms to make a profit at all. I was selling cookies.
That's right.
Okay. Quick note: you said selling weed. High Times Magazine, right? You know High Times Magazine?
Yeah.
High Times Magazine is closing their dispensaries in California because they can't make a profit in the state.
I heard about that. Only government could fuck up selling drugs.
Yeah, could make that not be a profitable thing.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, the government that can't stop people from smoking cannabis now wants to stop people from selling guns without a license.
Well, and the thing is if the guns, I mean, you know, and this again is one of these things where it's like they exist in a fantasy land where, you know, criminals are going to obey this. Like already guns that are used for crimes do not get sold from FFLs, and the people who are selling a bunch of stolen automatic weapons out of the trunk of their car behind a Circle K are probably not going to run out and get an FFL and start doing background checks now.
No.
Not only that, I think I can't remember where I saw the article, but I want to say I saw it earlier this morning. Some think tank, I don't know if it was a government agency or not, did a study on the origins of firearms used to commit crimes, and like 0.8% of all firearms used to commit crimes are obtained through an FFL.
Yeah. Or are used by the person that obtained them through the FFL.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, the reality is that like, it's also this rule. Not only does this rule run in direct conflict with FOPA, which is still on the books, and the Second Amendment, but on top of that, there are plenty of states where this rule would be legally unenforceable because it runs in direct contradiction to their state constitutions and state laws.
Montana, Idaho, and Wyoming. They all have firearm freedom acts.
Yeah, then you have places like Missouri where they passed their Second Amendment Preservation Act, which forbids the state from lending resources to the federal government to help enforce unconstitutional gun control.
And the government sued.
The government sued, and then so the beautiful part about that law is it's not enforced by the state. So even if they were to enjoin the state from enforcing the law, it's not the state who's enforcing it in the first place. It's the people. The people can sue the state agencies. Anybody in the state can sue the people in the state agencies that lend their services, resources, whatever, to the federal government for enforcement of gun control. So they can enjoin the state from enforcing it all they want. It doesn't do jack shit to the law.
And it's like all this says is that we can be sued. I don't know what you're
right. And it was modeled after the Texas abortion law. Because down there they have the same thing.
Well, and don't forget that there's no law that says that a state has to provide assistance to the federal agencies. There's nothing forcing them to provide assistance at all. All they can do is request it.
Yep.
So that's part of what the whole the Bundy thing was about, right?
Yeah.
That was part of it. Was the state of Nevada was like, no, fuck you, no, we're not gonna do this. Bureau of Land Management came in and did it.
Yeah. And
the whole Sagebrush Rebellion. That was the entire point.
Well, yeah, and I mean that's the thing is like what's essentially going on in Missouri is like the federal government suing without any thought of like what their actual goal is. Like, what are they going to ask the court to do? Because the court can't tell them you have to do this, because again, there is absolutely no law that says that they have to. So,
and even if they did, that wouldn't be constitutional either.
Well, yeah, that's like Cody Wilson with the FOSCAD, right? The gun plans.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the federal government took him to court saying, "Oh, you can't post these," and he's like, "You can't stop me."
Yeah, the First Amendment protects this.
Right? You can't stop you from doing it. And the federal government sued the federal government and won Cody's behalf. And then Cody got sued, and the federal government had to go to bat for Cody and protect Cody's right to post them. I mean, that's how it is with support, supporting federal regulation, which is something we talked about before about like the BATFE. They don't have the numbers to enforce federal gun control bills, right? Gun control, regulations. There's only like 2,400 active ATF agents.
If I remember right, there's like 10 in the entire state of Wisconsin.
Yeah. Right. So I mean, they're not gonna stack. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not gonna come try and pet your Tannerite dog.
Yeah, the Tanner and Tintin.
Yeah. Oh, Tanny boy.
But like, the thing is with that is, that means that they are entirely dependent, right? Like they're entirely dependent on cooperation from local agencies. So that's why Missouri did what it did, is because now it's like, well, I forbid local agencies from helping. So what are you going to do? You don't have the numbers. So, and you can't bring in police from other states because they won't have jurisdiction.
Right.
So
the only thing they can do is try to consolidate federal forces, and
that's why it's so powerful to have a sheriff that is on your side, which is one of the things that Cliven had, in Bunkerville.
Yeah, the sheriff was like, "I absolutely not. Am I going to help you with that?" No,
yeah, had sheriff on his side. So yeah. So all right, let's throw some links and get out of here.
Okay, so if you want to, well, the spiel if you listen to this show a lot, like Beard Viking, beardstruggle.com,
Reaper Brand Apparel. Yeah.
Coffee.
Let's see. Yes.
Coffee.
Yeah, the coffee, the
plastic
Lion's Not Sheep. There's Poppins patches. We still have the patches to give away. I have them sitting in a pile right here, by the way, and we haven't decided how we're gonna do the giveaway yet, but they are still sitting here. I haven't given them away or anything. They're all still here. I just got to figure out what we're gonna do to figure that out. And
we have to figure out what the absolute simplest amount of instructions we can give are, so that way people actually do it fucking right this time.
You mean anarchists don't follow directions? What?
Okay. Anyone that listens to this podcast, if you message Andrew Goff, Gouff, on Facebook, on Facebook, say, "Hey, I want those patches," and Andrew will ask for your address. And
I'll shoot one over to you. It's going to be a random one though. Don't tell me you want a specific one. I'm not doing that. It's going to be whatever I grab. That's what you're getting, bud.
Yes, there are no penis shaped patches. I'm sorry.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yes. So you're welcome.
I'm sure Dave could make one if we wanted him to.
Like that dude that made that illegal suppressor a while back that was shaped like a dick, and he's like, "I just want the ATF to have to try and describe this thing in the charges."
You know what's funny is that's on FOSCAD.
Like, I dare you to try and describe this.
That would be right up there. Remember when the whole thing was to rush Area 51.
Yeah.
And and they had the military had to explain what a Naruto run was.
The pictures of him standing there.
That would be up. That would be that high up on that list.
Mm-hmm.
What does it look like? I'm not sure I understand. Could you be a little more specific?
Could you demonstrate for us?
Could you demonstrate for us how to?
It reminds me, what the hell movie? I want to say it was from an Austin Powers movie. The Dr. Evil's ship is going with the rocket is going across, and it's like it looks like a giant, and then there's all these different cuts to where the beginning statement is another word for a phallus.
Yeah, that including with Woody Harrelson and
messages on Telegram.
Yeah, or send us a message on Telegram or something. Like, get a message to us and say, "Hey, I would like one."
Yes. On what the hell is our address on Telegram? It's at AAFRTD. Yeah, AAFRTD.
Yeah. So shoot us a message, say that you want one if you would like one, and I will, if I get a whole bunch of them, I'll just randomly pick people and they'll get one. That's how you win. You showed that you listened.
Random name selector.
Yes. So yeah, there it is in the chat. t.me/AAFRTD. Just drop a message in there and I'll message you or connect you to Andrew or something. So
yeah, we'll get it figured out.
Yeah. On that note, you guys have anything else you want to talk about real quick?
Nope.
Why not?
Like, I don't have any.
You guys are fucking boring.
Because there's shit that we can't say on the open airwaves.
Yeah, there's an awful lot of stuff I want to talk about, but not stuff I want to talk about publicly.
No, I will not elaborate because it could lead to conspiracy charges.
Yes, on the advice of my attorney, I will not be elaborating.
Yeah, especially since I just recently discovered like 4 people I work with have found our show.
Dude, one of my coworkers was like, "Oh, what's your podcast about?" And I'm like, "Current events."
That was exactly my response too.
All right. On that note, we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
Peace.
Yeah, he was